Social research follows the scientific method. Sociologists are social scientists, social analysts that study society, and we study differences between groups to detect inequalities and learn more about the social environment that we live in. So it all starts with a research question, and for social scientists, this research question is going to have to do with some kind of human behavior or trend that we observe in society, and some kind of social factor or societal level factor that we think may be contributing to that trend. Social factors are things like age, race, socioeconomic status, religious affiliation, sexuality, gender, and we also look at societal level factors, which could have to do with social institutions or the social systems of a certain society. These systems are things like criminal justice, politics, the economy, industries, or the media, just to name a few. Now, when we develop our research question, we conduct a literature review, which is essentially reading as many studies as we can on the topic that we want to research. This is an important step, and it can even change our research question or enable us to rethink it based on what has already been discovered about that topic in sociological research. After we do the lit review, we're ready to develop a hypothesis. A hypothesis is an educated guess on what's going to happen when we do our research study. And that typically stems from a certain theory or idea of how variables are related to each other. When we develop our hypothesis, we also need to operationally define the variables in our study. So, in other words, we need to determine how we're going to measure the variables in our research study. So, for example, if we want to study the relationship between violence on television and violent behavior, we're going to need to define what it is we mean by violence on television and how we're going to measure it, as well as doing the same for violent behavior. This also can be informed by that literature review because you can see how other researchers defined those variables and how they measured it in their study. Next, you're going to choose the design or methodology for your research study. Sociologists do interviews of people. We use secondary data sources, which are large databases full of data on individuals. We develop surveys where we ask people questions. And we use ethnographic methods where we actually observe people in a group, either as an outsider or even as part of the group. It's important to go through the Institutional Review Board, which reviews research studies to determine if they're ethical. And it's always the best thing to do to keep everyone's identity a secret in your study. That way, people can be more honest in their answers and we protect their privacy. So after you choose the design of your study, you're ready to collect your data and then analyze your data. And the methods for those are going to depend on the methods that you use to collect the data. And then we need to disseminate the results. It's always the responsibility of social scientists who conduct research that is peer-reviewed to share the results with others. This helps advance different social theories, and it can even lead to paradigm shifts or new ways of thinking about social problems because of new research. So it's part of the process to share the results. There are two main types of methods when it comes to social research: quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative is more quantifiable, of course, so this is going to be related to survey data where we are taking that data, coding it in such a way that we can use statistical methods to determine the influence of different variables on our outcome or behavior. The outcome is also called the dependent variable, and the social factors that we're researching can be called independent variables. So in quantitative research, we are using statistics to determine the influence of variables. In qualitative, methods, we are doing things like interviewing people, observing people, doing focus groups where we're getting feedback, and that takes a different type of data analysis where we can identify various themes, and we can often get a deeper understanding of variables through qualitative research, and qualitative research can then inform the questions that we ask on surveys for quantitative research, so they work very well together. Social research is all about collecting real data on real people to get real answers on what drives behavioral trends in society.